Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 text 2. Bhavapyayo hi bhutanam shruto vistarasho maya tvattah kamalapatraksha mahatmyam api chavyayam. Bhava, appearance. Apyayo, disappearance. He, certainly. Bhutanam, of all living entities. Shrutau, have been heard. Vistarasha, in detail. Maya, by me. Tvattah, from you. Kamalapatra aksha, O lotus-eyed one. Mahatmyam, glories. Api, also. Cha, and. Avyayam, inexhaustible. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories. Please repeat. O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories. Purport. Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as lotus-eyed. Krishna's eyes appear just like the petals of a lotus flower. So Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as lotus-eyed out of his joy, for Krishna has assured him in a previous chapter, Aham kritsnasya jagatah prabhavah pralayas tatha. I am the source of the appearance and disappearance of this entire material manifestation. Now this is 7.6, chapter 7, text 6. Arjuna has heard of this from the Lord in detail. Arjuna further knows that in spite of his being the source of all appearances and disappearances, he is aloof from them. As the Lord has said in the 9th chapter, he is all-pervading, yet he is not personally present everywhere. That is the inconceivable opulence of Krishna, which Arjuna admits that he has thoroughly understood. Now, we'll just go on to the next verse as well. Evametad yathathatvam atmanam parameshvara drashtumichhami te rupam aishvaram purushottama. Evam, thus, etat, this, yatha, as it is, atha, have spoken, tvam, you, atmanam, yourself, parama ishvara, O Supreme Lord, drashtum, to see, ichhami, I wish, te, your, rupam, form, aishwaram, divine, purusha uttama, O best of personalities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. Purport. The Lord said that because he entered into the material universe by his personal representation, the cosmic manifestation has been made possible and is going on. Now, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he is inspired by the statements of Krishna, but in order to convince others in the future who may think that Krishna is an ordinary person, Arjuna desires to see him actually in his universal form, to see how he is acting from within the universe, although he is apart from it. Arjuna's addressing the Lord as Purushottama is also significant. Since the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is present within Arjuna himself. Therefore, he knows the desire of Arjuna and he can understand that Arjuna has no special desire to see him in his universal form, for Arjuna is completely satisfied to see him in his personal form of Krishna. But the Lord can understand also that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to convince others. Arjuna did not have any personal desire for confirmation. Krishna also understands that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to set a criterion, for in the future there would be so many imposters who would pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people therefore should be careful. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claim to the people. So, these two verses are very important. They set the stage for the appearance of the Virat Rupa, which Krishna would exhibit in the subsequent verses in this chapter. And Arjuna actually describes that. Now, very important phrase here in the second verse is Shrutau Vistarasho Maya. Shruta means hearing. Shruta means hearing. Have been heard, Shrutau. Vistarashaha means in detail. Maya means by me. So Shrutau Vistarashaha means Arjuna says that I have now heard extensively from you about your glories and your position, and I have no more doubts. And this he confirmed in the previous chapter, 10th chapter, 14th verse. Sarvam etad dhritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava. Krishna, I accept as truth everything that you have told me. This is very important. Before we can understand, before we can see God, in fact, in order to see God, we have to hear, and hear in detail. Because Krishna says, don't be satisfied with just superficial knowledge, because you will be cheated if you do not know enough. On the other hand, of course, we cannot understand Krishna in total, but we should understand as much as he has revealed himself. That we can understand. By his mercy, he has revealed himself. So he comes time and time again in different millennia and he enacts his pastimes, Leela. And he also speaks, like here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna spoke to Arjuna. So he gives very, very clear knowledge about who we are and what we are not, because we have this problem. We don't know actually who we are. That's the biggest problem. We think we are this body. That's the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita, that you are not this body. And he analytically explains. He's not simply saying something, oh, you just accept it, otherwise you go to hell, kind of statement. He's actually analytically presenting how we can clearly understand that we are not the body. Scientifically, he's explaining. He says, for example, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. So our navani grahanati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyani navani dehi. So he's saying, just like we change our dress every day, so we change our bodies every life. And this is very easy to understand. We say, I am this body. We say, this is my body. This is my head. This is my heart, my hand, my leg. If all these things are mine, then who am I? That means I am something separate. I possess these things. I am not these things. So in this way, he is very clearly explaining that we are apart from this body. We are soul. We are the Atma. And we don this body like we don our clothes, a costume. So, in this way, everything about who we are, what is this world, what is this material nature, how it is situated, why it was created, which is one thing that the scientists cannot understand. They may try to explain to some extent how the universe came into being, how we came into being, although they're totally mistaken. They say that something exploded, Big Bang happened, and then everything came into order and perfectly in order. That's not how it came. It was not some accidental chaos that brought about some order, as they would want us to believe. It's actually a very, very systematic process, and that is explained in extreme detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam, how the creation exactly came into being. That's another book which is much more expansive than this one, Bhagavad Gita. But the point is, we should understand who we are, what is this world, why are we here, why was this world created, why are we in this world, what happens after death, what happened before my birth. We cannot just be in oblivious to these realities, thinking that nobody has seen reincarnation. Well, there are, for those who say like that, there are documentaries you can go and watch of reincarnation. People who remember their past lives, and scientists have no explanations for them. Now, for the vast majority, we do not remember our past lives, because if we did, it would have been much more morose. We will all be in the mental asylum. We wouldn't be able to handle that memory. Even in this life, we wouldn't be able to handle a painful memory. What to speak of hundreds and thousands of past lives of pains and sufferings? We would not be able to tolerate. So Krishna is actually very merciful by making us forget what happened in our past lives. So that's the reason why we don't remember. And also, in order for us to further our desires and act according to our desires, he makes us forget. But also it gives us a chance to not have all that baggage and start afresh in this life, especially in human life, to understand God and apply our attention there. Okay? And then who God is, we should understand. What is our relationship with God? Is he for real or not? Of course he is. Our education system today does not stress on the presence of God, does not stress on God at all. They leave it to you. If you want to believe, you believe. If you don't believe, don't believe. It's up to you. It doesn't make a difference. It's not relevant. We want our gross domestic product to increase, our collective income of the countries, and economic prosperity is what we want, by hook or by crook. If religion gives you the strength to work in the office for 14 hours a day, please do so and pray as hard as you can and work for me 14 hours a day and become my slave. That's what they want you to do. That's what this education system is for. They put you on a conveyor belt, factory, product. Okay, this is certification, this is where you go, this is where you be a slave. They say, oh, slavery is abolished. It's there still. They call it employee. So is it the nomenclature has changed, but nothing else has changed. So in this way, our life is being robbed. Life is supposed to be not to chase after this wealth and waste our time in that way. And they want us to believe that is success. In the Forbes magazine, Forbes 100, top 100 or top 50, top 30. Oh, he made it to the top 30. Oh, he's a successful man or woman. They want us to believe that is success. And people, so our problem is, we think we are logical creatures. No, we are not. We just follow the propaganda. We don't want to be a weirdo. So we want to fit in. Or if everybody is saying that is success, that should be success. And we don't even question. But success is not this. Success means to stop our continual cycle of birth and death. Because this has been happening since time immemorial. For millions and trillions of lifetimes, we have taken in birth in different species. Sometimes as a human, sometimes as a snake, sometimes as an insect, sometimes as a bird, sometimes in the heavenly planets and as the demigods. Well, that's another whole subject. There is life on every single planet. Which again is a controversial subject with the scientists because with our naked eyes or with our instruments, we are unable to perceive life anywhere else. It appears so that this planet is isolated. We are isolated in the entire known cosmos. That we alone have life and no other planet is, having any signs of life. But actually, that's not the case. It's very interesting how we find from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam that life exists in different conditions which are not even perceivable to us. We expect that life should be as we see it on this planet, but it does not exist like that. Even on this planet, we don't see completely the entire life forms. For example, some people believe, some people don't, but there is actually scientific evidence and scriptural from the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. We know exactly how they exist. What I'm speaking about, ghosts, for example. So ghosts, why somebody becomes a ghost, under what conditions a person after death becomes a ghost, is also explained. And some people actually can see them. Most of us don't, but some can. In fact, His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu, he can see. So there are these beings which even on earth we can't see. And of course, there are documentaries and they say, oh, paranormal, may or may not know, we can't explain, so just leave it. Let's just turn a blind eye to that and then let's enjoy life. Maybe they're not there, these are all some propaganda. They'll just say these things and they just want to be blind. When they cannot explain something, they want to be known as people who can explain everything. And if they can't explain, hide it. So that's the so-called science. Science means at least there should be some genuine curiosity. But if that is not there, and if it's manipulative, then that's not science, that's propaganda. So anyway, life exists in many different forms. Even let's forget about the ghosts. Let's talk about life on land. We cannot imagine to live in the water, but there are living entities living in the water. It's not that because I cannot stay, nobody can stay in the water. No, they can stay comfortably in the water. They cannot stay in the land, on land. We can comfortably. For the fish, big sharks and whales, however big they are, but they can't live on the land. We can easily. So you just need to have a suitable body to live there. Now, at least to an extent, we can perceive life forms in this world. To an extent. Some we can't. But other planets, life exists totally differently. Very subtle, especially in the higher planetary systems. So either way, Krishna blocks our vision. Even if we look at the moon, the sun. In Bhagavad Gita itself, 4th chapter, Krishna says, I spoke this to the sun god. That means there is a president of the sun planet, and Krishna spoke the same signs there 120.4 million years ago. Now, who can live on the sun, we may think, that's too hot. I mean, come on, that doesn't make any sense. But it does not make sense because we already have this preconceived notion that life only exists in this way. So anyway, so these things are very elaborately mentioned that they need to have suitable bodies to live there. There they have bodies made of fire, fiery bodies. So for them it is very comfortable to live on the sun. So in this way, there is explanation about everything. And we should understand these details as Krishna has revealed them. This is called Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yovetti Tattvataha. Janma Karma means when Krishna comes, he sometimes appears to take birth from his parents, Vasudeva, Devaki. But actually, he chooses his parents. We don't choose. We did not choose our parents. We did not choose which country or which race or which species we would be born in. We were inserted. But Krishna sends his devotees first. Okay, you be my parents. I will come and be your son. So God makes those arrangements when he comes. And sometimes he does not come from a mother and father, like Narasimhadev. He just came from a pillar. He can come from anywhere. But he lovingly accepts the service, the love of his devotees who want to serve him as a parent. You can serve God as a parent. Not that God is always the master and we are the servant. Yes, technically that is the relation. But Krishna sometimes accepts the role of a subordinate so that our service attitude can be even more intense. The love that a mother has for a child is even more intense, way more intense than a servant has for a master. But that is still service. The mother still serves the child, but in a different mood, in a different relationship. So in that way, his janma, he decides everything. He decides his parents. We did not decide. And karma. When we say about his karma, it's not only when he comes here, he killed some demons, he spoke Bhagavad Gita, and he blessed some devotees, and that's all. That's the end of his karma. And no, this creation is also his karma. His karma is always going on. His activities are always going on. That's why, for the simple-minded, even a flower will remind him of God. Because that is also Krishna's karma. Krishna has painted that flower so nicely. If somebody paints a nice rose, we will immediately ask, oh, who's that artist who painted that? That's beautiful. We will immediately ask, who's that artist? We will never assume that some paint splashed on some canvas and it appeared as a beautiful rose. We'll never assume that. Then why should we assume that the real rose is out of chaos? It came out of some chaos. Some big bang happened and eventually evolved into something else, and then flower came, snakes came, and insects came, humans came, monkeys came. What is this? When is there ever a case where some clay came together and became a person? No, never. So that means that explanation is not valid. Even scientists know that. It's actually very stupid. But they say it in a way that it's a very intellectual thing that they're saying. But it's actually very stupid. So we should understand how this creation is made, how Krishna created everything. And that information is there in the Bhagavad Gita a little bit, in Srimad Bhagavatam in much more detail. Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses long, but the Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses long. Much more detail there. So, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, transcendental activities of Krishna. Evam Yovetti Tattvataha. Tattvataha means, in truth, you have to understand. Not superficially, I know Krishna came, he played some on his flute, he played with his cowherd boys, and he had some girlfriends, he danced, and he instructed some Bhagavad Gita and he left. Just very superficial understanding. No. Each and every Leela of his has so much meaning, in-depth meaning. And we have to understand all of this. How will we understand? How will we understand this tattvataha? Vetti tattvataha. How will we understand this? Shrutau vistarasho maya. Arjuna said, by hearing. The Lord is called 3:9:11. Shrutekshita patho. Shrutekshita pathaha. Means, Shruta means hearing, Ikshita means seeing, Patha means path. The path to see God is through hearing. It's not by the eyes. Because our eyes currently are defective. We can see God. It's not that we cannot see God. We can. But it starts with hearing. When we are completely qualified, then we can see God everywhere. Everywhere. We will never be separated from God. Actually, we are never separated from God. Because Krishna is always in the heart of everyone. But it's like this. Sometimes the curtain is closed here, right? So we are in the same room, but we can't see Krishna when the curtain is closed. So that way, when the curtain of Maya javanika channam agnya dhukshajam avyayam. So when the curtain of Maya, covers the Lord, Naham Prakash Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavritaha. Avritaha means covered. Samavrita means completely covered. Samyak Avritaha is Samavrita. So, when he's completely covered by Maya, we cannot see, although he's right there. He is right in our heart. We can never be separated from Krishna. But in our minds, in our hearts, there is this curtain of Maya which separates us from seeing Krishna. So, but how to remove that curtain? Why is the curtain closed? Because we did not want to see the Lord. But the Lord cannot go away from anywhere. He's everywhere. So He just puts a curtain so that you cannot see. Oh, you do not want to see me? Okay, I'll just put this curtain on. Now you cannot see me. But He's right there. So, Shrutekshita Patha, by hearing who? Not just hearsay. Okay. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja ase shrutekshita patho nanunatha pumsam yadyadhiyata urugaya vibhavayanti tat vapuh pranayase sadanugrahaya. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing. And thus their hearts become cleansed and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So this is and it's very easy. We just have to sit down and listen. How much effort is that? Krishna has made it so easy that we just have to hear. Shrutau vistarasho maya. We have to hear for a long time. Not that, oh, I heard in the class, but I still don't see Krishna. We have to be, first of all, hearing is one thing. Then we have to come to accept it. And we have to come to act on it for a long time, disciplined. Then eventually, Krishna will manifest. And this is all easily done in the association of devotees because alone, Maya, we are easy prey for Maya. Easy. One stick, one twig alone is easy to break. But when there are 100 together, it's very difficult to break. So that's why we have to be in the association of devotees so Maya cannot break us. Breaking means our inspiration becoming lost. So that won't happen if we are in the association of devotees who constantly inspire us in various ways how to surrender to Krishna. So this hearing has to be heard from, we have to hear from who? Not just anybody saying whatever and I'll just hear. No. What the Lord says we have to hear. And the devotees, sadhu shastra guru vakya chittete korya aikya. Sadhu shastra guru vakya. So the shastra is the word of God. Vedanta krit. Krishna says in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta krit means he's saying, I compiled the Vedic literature. So everything that is there in the Vedas, I did it, Krishna says. So when we are reading the Vedic literature, of which the essence is Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very voluminous, the whole Vedic literature. There are 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, and then there are 18 Mahapuranas and 32 Upapuranas, and then there are Itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata, and there are so many corollary texts of commentaries and Anuvyakya. There's no limit. So how are we going to assimilate all of that in this short life that we have with so many distractions? So Krishna is kind. So he summarized and gave us the essence in the shape of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So if we read these books, it is sufficient. Everything is there. So we have to hear this from the Lord and from the devotees who repeat the message of the Lord. This is another important thing. If somebody is dressed like a sadhu and is speaking something, we just can't go and listen because, some sadhu came, everybody is listening, he has 2 million followers, 20 million followers on social media, so he must be bona fide. He must be genuine. That's not how we decide. Especially so in Kali Yuga. If more people are following, you must be a little bit wary. Because in Kali Yuga, manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hyupadruta. In Kali Yuga, people are manda. They're very slow, they're very dull-headed. They cannot distinguish between right and wrong, and what is to be done, what is not to be done. They do not know. The culture, the knowledge is absent. We are not trained in that way. So just because they feel like, I feel good when I listen to him, so I will listen. Well, a child, if he's smoking, if he asks his father for a cigarette, if the father is good, then he would actually slap him. Hey, come on, what nonsense are you talking? You want a cigarette when you're asking me? How dare you? One tight slap. And not just slap, shouting, everything, all kinds of punishment. But if that same boy goes to a shopkeeper, of course, there are rules here in this country that, above 18. But if in countries like India or something, you can get a cigarette easily without being 18 somehow. Here also? Yeah, here also actually there are cases who are, sometimes those delinquents come here and do some seva. We have to kind of cater to them. So in every country, these things are going on. But the guy who sells these cigarette, he will not protest. He will not say anything. Oh, you want a cigarette? Okay, fine, take. So the child may come to the conclusion that, oh, he is doing what I want. So he's actually better than my father who's, punishing me for this. But just somebody who tells something we want to hear is not necessarily the right person. We need to hear what we need to hear, not what we want to hear. So, that hearing has to come from Shastra. Sometimes the people accuse us, oh, you always quote from the books, you just have bookish knowledge, you're not very practical, you're too rigid. Krishna actually can speak to me. He does not need to speak to me through book, he can speak to me from my heart. Yeah, he can speak, but we have no capability to listen. That's the real problem. That's why Krishna is merciful, because we are not hearing him, listening to him. He made it very clear cut in the form of a book. Oh, no, Krishna will come to my dream and he will tell me, I have these special visions. Who knows? Everybody can say that. And everybody will say a different version. If Krishna is saying, he should be consistent, right? Not that he says one thing in Bhagavad Gita and another thing in your dream. They have to match, Even if he came and told you something in the dream, you have to check it in the Bhagavad Gita whether he said the same thing or not. If he did not say the same thing, that means you are lying. Either Krishna is lying or you are lying. Krishna won't lie. So there's only one. So that's how we have to come to this bookish knowledge is not just bookish knowledge. This is recorded speech of the Lord. We have to be more thorough than the lawyers in citing his references when we talk something. In fact, let me show you that first. See, Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful. Truthful means what? First of all, Krishna, whatever he said, that is truthful. We have to repeat that. Of course, in ordinary dealings also we have to be truthful. And pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. And also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. We can sometimes even compromise the principle of agitating others. Because here it is said you should not agitate others when you speak. Generally speaking, yes. But some people get agitated by truth. That we cannot do much about it. Let them be agitated. We should not compromise the truth in order to, please him. No need. Let him be agitated. We don't want to agitate Krishna. This is real love for Krishna. If we speak falsity, then Krishna will be agitated and he will be punished for that. We should be truthful and pleasing as much as possible. Of course, beneficial. Krishna's words are always beneficial, not agitating to others. But the demoniac tendency is such that, just like Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad, in that pastime. Whenever Hiranyakashipu, the demon, the father, asked his son, who was a great devotee of the Lord, what did you learn? What is the best thing in the world that you know? Always the boy said, to worship Lord Narayana is the best thing in the world. And he would get agitated just by that statement. No, no, you should not chant his name, you should chant my name, I am God. Then he would chant again Narayana's name, Krishna's name. So he would be agitated again. Just by hearing the name, he can get agitated. So in that case, how can Prahlad speak something not agitating to him? He can lie. That's the only way to not agitate him. Why should he lie? So this cannot be always followed because you can't control what other people would feel. But you can control one thing. You can control your own tongue. We can control our tongue. We can speak what Krishna spoke. That's why we should know what he spoke. And that's why, how would we know? By hearing, by reading. It has become way too common now to just speak out of one's head. Oh, I feel this, I feel that. Or sometimes we quote. Quote who? What is that? Winston Churchill, some Shakespeare somewhere, or Albert Einstein. Why these become authorities? Why these people are authorities and not Krishna? Not the great acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. Why can't we quote them? They know. Who are these Einstein compared to these acharyas? Who is he? He talked about relativity, which is one verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 17th verse. The entire theory of relativity is there in 4 lines. That is our standard of knowledge, our Vedas. Our acharyas are expert. The relativity of time and space is already mentioned just in one of the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. As an insignificant part of Bhagavad Gita, it's not even important. Whereas for the scientist, it's a breakthrough, it's a frontier of science, he's found something which is nobody has found. People already knew this for trillions of years. Okay? And there are so many stories, not stories, these are historical facts. In the Bhagavatam and our Puranas, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 8th chapter, 17th verse, that the time of Brahma and the time on this planet is different. And there have been incidences where people went there and came back within 2 hours. But here on earth, generations after generations after generations, nobody knew the trace of him again. That much time has passed on earth. Indradyumna, the Jagannath temple actually is connected with this history of Indradyumna, King Indradyumna. This was a history. So don't think that we don't have enough knowledge in our Vedas. We have to turn to science for these things. And for some faith, for some, strength of my heart, something to hold on to, I will take to religion. No. It is the entire package of knowledge, entire thing. It's more important than our so-called education. In fact, our education is misleading for the most part. So, regularly reciting Vedic literature, and let me show you this. This is how we should speak. This is how we should learn how to speak. Not just, the priest in the temple, he should speak like this, not the others. No. Every single, this was the standard of civilization previously. Nobody would speak their own opinion without quoting authorities. But now it has become all too common. So let's see this. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. So this is how we should study this and speak like this. And we should evaluate everything in our life, whether how to proceed in something according to the scriptural injunctions. Karya akarya vyavastitau tasmat shastram pramanante. What we should do, what we should not do, what is correct, what is wrong, how is everything situated. We should know from the scripture. That is the right way of knowing it. We cannot just depend on our senses to see everything, because we will see a very distorted view of the world and of our life if we just rely on our senses. So that's why Krishna has given, just like every product comes with a manual so that you know how to use the product, our human body comes with the manual of this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. If we don't study this, just like a child, he will take some gadget and misuse it and break it. And it's expensive thing, it's gone. Similarly, our life is very, very valuable, way more expensive than the iPhone, the Mac, and all these, everything put together. All the wealth of the world cannot. There is a nice verse in the Niti Shastra by Chanakya Pandit. What is that? Ayusha kshanam ekopi nalabhyate swarna kotibhi. That means even if we spend millions and tens of millions or unlimited number of gold coins, at that time the currency was gold coins, let's say now dollars, trillions and trillions of dollars you can put, you cannot get 1 second back in your life, right? How much expensive is 1 second? And how much more expensive is our entire human life? And why is it expensive? So what if a second is lost, if a day is lost, if a month is lost, if a year is lost? What is if our life is spent away? Because in this human life, we can make a solution wherein we will never have to take birth again next life. Because if we miss that chance, for millions and millions of years we have to take birth in all the species that are there and again come back to our human life. Because for every action that we do, we have to pay back. For example, let's analyze, I've mentioned this before in previous classes. Let's analyze 1 day's activity of the people in general of this world, human beings. 1 day's activity, let's analyze. And let's see how much karmic baggage that will create. Okay? 3 times eating, right? And in the breakfast, I don't know how many animals are killed there. Sometimes it's a chicken and an egg and few things there, which died for me, for my tongue. I have to, mamsa in Sanskrit means meat. And mamsaha means mam saha khadati iti mamsa. So I am eating that thing now, that animal, that bird. So I am giving him the right to eat me in his next life. That is mamsa. That is the law of karma. So if I eat a chicken, I will have to become chicken and be eaten by that soul who will get the chance of a human body to kill me. So in this way, I have to pay back. Suppose I have eaten 3 animals in the breakfast. It may be very little portion, but one chicken thing, one some duck thing, some prawn thing, some whatever nonsense people eat nowadays. So let's say 3 lives were sacrificed for my breakfast, and my lunch, I don't know how many more. Because if you say prawn soup or something, then not 1 prawn is there. There are a few. So in that way, let's say another 5 lives have gone. And in the dinner, another maybe 2. Let's say light dinner, 2 lives gone. So 3, 5, 2, 10 lives on one day of our. This is just eating alone. When we are walking, sometimes we are killing a mosquito. Sometimes we are we are doing everything, all kinds of killing. I'm only talking about killing. I am not even talking about cheating somebody for some business. I tell some lies here, or there are so many things, so many sins. The seeds of sin we are sowing every single day. But I'm just to keep it simple. I'm just talking about the killing only the food matter. So 10 lives of 1 day's work. Our 1 day has passed. 10 lives were sacrificed for us. It's like a credit card. You can take now, you can enjoy, but later you have to pay with compound interest. So we have to, 10 lives we have to take in order to pay back for 1 day's activity here. Let's say we live for, it's good that in Kali Yuga people don't live long. If they lived long, how much more you have to pay back? So 80 years, let's say 80 years, let's say 70 years. How many lives I have to take in order to pay back for 1 human life's worth of sinful activities? So all the animals that are suffering, they are suffering because At one time they were in the human body where they made wrong moves. And for that they are now suffering for millions of lifetimes. Sometimes standing as a tree, some for thousands of years. Sometimes as animal, sometimes as bird. You see this wildlife videos, how they are killed, very painful, and eaten, right? Very painful. But why? Because they are just paying back for some remote human life where they did this. They're paying for some breakfast they had. So we think it is not very, oh, it was very inconsequential, I'm not punished by the laws of the state, because the state does not know what the laws of the nature are, laws of God are. Previously, they used to punish according to the laws of the Vedic scriptures, but now no. So, in this way, we have to understand that what is correct, what is wrong, who is God, everything by the scripture. Then we will be guided properly. I'll just show you this one. Similarly, to know God also, we have to follow the scripture, because in the scripture there are references to what are the qualifications and symptoms of God, and there are also predictions of all incarnations of God. Like, for example, 5,000 years ago, the Bhagavatam was written, and Buddha came 2,600 years ago. And in 5,000 years ago, already the Buddha's incarnation is mentioned here. Let's see. You see, tatah kalau sampravritte sammohaya suradvisham buddho namnanjana sutah kikateshu bhavishyati. Bhavishyati means in the future he will come. It's a prediction. So then, in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theists. The Lord is mentioned, his mother's name is mentioned, his province where he will come is mentioned, his mission is mentioned. This is how we check whether somebody is God. And also today, Arjuna is saying, show me your Virat Rupa. Actually, he was satisfied with what explanation Krishna gave, but he is asking this for our reference, so that in the future, if somebody comes and says that I am God, okay, if you are God, show me your Virat Rupa. You can challenge him. If he can show you, then he is God. But if he cannot show, then he is dog. He is dog. He is not God. So, so this is how we should check. So I'll tell you, because we are running out of time. So you see, there was this incident where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is an incarnation of Krishna 500 years ago, and he had a servant called Balabhadra Bhattacharya, with whom he was going to, the Jharkhand forest, the Vrindavan, everywhere. So at one point, that Balabhadra Bhattacharya, although he was constantly with the Lord, he was carried away by some villagers who was saying that, oh, there was Krishna who was in the Kaliya, Kaliya Daman Leela was happening. Krishna punished the Kaliya snake when he came 5,000 years ago. So somebody was saying, the villagers were saying that, oh, in the night you can see this Kaliya Leela, that Krishna is punishing Kaliya. So everybody was going saying, yes, you see in the dark, you can see that Krishna, the snake is there, and the snake has a jewel, the jewel is shining so brightly. Yes, everybody was saying, and then he also wanted to go and see. So he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for permission for this. So he said, Bhattacharya tabe kohe prabhur charane Agnya deho jai kore Krishna darshane. So he said in Bengali, at that time Balabhadra Bhattacharya placed a request at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, please give me permission to go see Lord Krishna directly. Okay. So purport. The puzzled people who visited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were actually seeing Lord Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But they were mistaken in thinking that Lord Krishna had come to Kaliya lake. They all said that they had seen Krishna directly performing his pastimes on the hoods of the serpent Kaliya, and that the jewels on Kaliya's hoods were blazing brilliantly. Because they were speculating with their imperfect knowledge, they saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary human being, and a boatman's light in the lake as Krishna. So what they were actually seeing in the dark was a boatman who was going to fish in the night. So they go in the dark. Actually, we went to Kurmakshetra many years back, 15 years back, 16 years back, and we saw the fishermen, they go in the night to fish deep into the sea. So he was going like that, and he had a lamp with him so that he can see his nearabouts. So they thought that boat was snake Kalia, and then the boatman was Krishna, and then the light was some jeweled hood of the snake. This way they were mistaken. So, and then this Balabhadra Bhattacharya, being a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also was carried away by their statements. So you see how Prabhupada is explaining here. Because they were speculating with their imperfect knowledge, they saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary human being and a boatman's light in the lake as Krishna. This is now important. One must see things as they are through the mercy of a spiritual master. Otherwise, if one tries to see Krishna directly, he may mistake an ordinary man for Krishna or Krishna for an ordinary man. Everyone has to see Krishna according to the verdict of the Vedic literatures presented by the self-realized spiritual master. A sincere person is able to see Krishna through the transparent via medium of the Sri Gurudev, the spiritual master. Unless one is enlightened by the knowledge given by the spiritual master, he cannot see things as they are, even though he remains constantly with the spiritual master. This is another thing. One may be constantly with the Guru also, but if he does not hear, the main stress is here on the hearing, on the reading or hearing. These are the main things. If we don't, then we will be left in ignorance and we will do wrong things. So, this incident at Kaliya Daha is very instructive for those eager to advance in Krishna consciousness. So, we'll just see the next two verses. So, when Balabhadra Bhattacharya asked like that, what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? तबे तारे कहे प्रभु चापड़ मारिया. Nice slap he got. Murkher vakya murkho hoila pandit hoya. So he said, he chastised. When Balabhadra Bhattacharya asked to see Krishna at Kaliya Daha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mercifully slapped him. Mercifully slapped means not, like a light slap. Oh, mercifully slap. No, mercifully, one tight slap. The whole misconception is shaken out of the head. That is a merciful slap. It's not like like this. Full red cheek. Mercifully slapped him, saying, you are a learned scholar, but you have become a fool, being influenced by the statements of other fools. You see how very conclusive. This is how we must be. Okay? Maya is so strong that even a person like Balabhadra Bhattacharya, who was constantly staying with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was influenced by the words of fools. He wanted to see Krishna directly by going to Kaliya Daha, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the original spiritual master, would not allow his servant to fall into such foolishness. He therefore chastised him, slapping him just to bring him to a real sense of Krishna consciousness. Then what happened? Krishna kena darshan dibe kali kale, nija bhrame murkha lok kore kolahale. So what did he say? Why would Krishna appear in the age of Kali? Because he is called Triyuga. He only comes in 3 yugas. He actually comes in Kali Yuga, but Channa Avatar. Channa Avatar means hidden incarnation. He does not proclaim himself to be an incarnation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such. Even the incarnation of Buddha, he never said, I am God. Of course, his mission was totally different, but that is also Channa Avatar, even if you take it that way. So both Buddha and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, both are Channa Avatar. But of course, especially meaning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Channa Avatar. So in Kali Yuga, why would Krishna appear? Foolish people who are mistaken are simply causing agitation and making a tumult. Now, this purport is also very important. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first statement, Krishna kene darshan dibe kali kale, refers to the scriptures. According to scripture, Krishna appears in Dwapar Yuga, but he never appears as himself in Kali Yuga. Rather, he appears in Kali Yuga in a covered form. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam. Krishna appears in the age of Kali in the garb of a devotee, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who always associates with his internal soldiers Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Srivas Prabhu and Gadadhar Prabhu. Although Balabhadra Bhattacharya was personally serving Lord Krishna in his role as a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mistook Lord Krishna for an ordinary man and an ordinary man for Lord Krishna because he did not follow the rules set down by Shastra and Guru. Regarding this, I'll show you this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. These three verses together, 18:30. So regarding this, pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya akarye bhaya abhaye bandham moksham cha ya vetti buddhihi sapartha satviki. So there are three modes of material nature: sattvagun, rajogun, tamogun. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. So these are just the stages of our covering of Maya. Now those who are in the sattvagun, sattvic, their understanding is like this. What is that? O son of Pritha, Arjuna, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. What is binding means what will keep us in this material world, bound in the cycle of birth and death. What is liberating from the cycle of birth and death? What will liberate us? So that is, we will know. And what is correct, what is wrong, who is God, who is not. All these things will be clear for a person in the Sattvagun. And a Sattvic person refers to scriptures always. He studies them very diligently to guide himself. Then, and that also under the guidance of a spiritual master, not on his own. Okay? Now, here is where Hinduism, modern Hinduism starts here. They don't know what is to be done, what is not to be done. Because why? They never read the scriptures. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha akaryam eva cha ayathavat prajanati buddhihi sapartha rajasi. Ayathavat means, yatha roop. Our Bhagavad Gita is called yatha roop, right? That means as it is. Ayatha means not as it is, distorted. So, you see, these Rajasic people means in the mode of passion, not Sattvic, the second mode. Their understanding is here, O son of Pritha. That understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. This kind of person is always indecisive. He does not know, especially in the matter of, actually this verse is in context of religious principles. Okay. So he does not, religiously, he is not decisive. He is not sure. If somebody says, I am God, or people say that, hey, this person is God, because some miracle happened, I went to pray to him and my business suddenly, boomed. So I think he's God. And these anecdotes, they take and, oh, is it? Okay, I will also put, you have his picture, I will want to frame and put in my altar. And they will put. And what if he's really God? I don't want to offend him. These kind of stupid, religious followers, pious fools. Prabhu called this kind of people one time, pious fools. They are pious to an extent, but very foolish. Yeah. They have some God-fearing tendency, but they're foolish. They don't consider what is to be done. What. So people say anything, they will just believe. Very gullible. They don't know how to distinguish what is right and wrong. And they're always fearful. What if I do something wrong? Or maybe if I offend him, something happen to me. So I better not offend. So keep it cool. So this is the problem. Then comes the final tamasic people who are in the mode of ignorance, completely against God. So what is their understanding? Adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasa vrita sarvarthan viparitamscha buddhehi sapartha tamasi. Such people, whereas a Rajasic person is not sure, Tamasic person is very sure of the opposite conclusion. He is very sure of the opposite thing. What is right, he thinks is definitely wrong. What is wrong, he thinks this is actually right. This is the problem with them. And they're very hardcore. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, very definitely, under the spell of illusion and darkness and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. So these tamasic people, it is said in the purport, very Prabhupada gives a very short and nice purport. Intelligence in the mode of ignorance is always working the opposite of the way it should. It accepts religions which are not actually religions and rejects actual religion. Men in ignorance understand a great soul to be a common man and accept a common man as a great soul. Like Gandhi, for example. He is revered all over the world, we call him Mahatma. He's not a great soul. He's a common man. Prabhupada is a great soul, actual Mahatma. People don't know. He's just one religious leader. And Gandhi, who actually ruined India, even politically speaking, and they think him as the big Mahatma. Mahatma Krishna certifies who is Mahatma, who surrenders to him completely. He is Mahatma, not a politician. Yeah. So because they don't know Shastra, do not know Shastra, they just give these names loosely to anyone and everyone. And that so-called Mahatma called some people Harijans. Although they were not Harijan. Harijan means what? Persons of the caliber of Narad Muni, persons of the caliber of Parishad Maharaj, Arjuna, Yudhishthir Maharaj. These people are Harijans, those who are personal servants of the Lord. How can you call someone Harijan when he has no understanding of who God is? Culture is also not there. We are not asking they should be discriminated. No, they are low class people. No, we are not saying that. He called them Dalits and people, the Harijan. What Prabhupada did is the real thing. He went to West America. What kind of habits they had? Womanizing, gambling, eating meat, intoxicating. This is their way of life. It is not sinful, it's their way of life. They don't consider it sin. Hippies. He went there. He made them into Harijans. They became devotees. And then he gave them name Govinda Das, Krishna Das, this Haridas, whatever. That is Harijan. You make the person into actual devotee, then you call him Harijan, then any meaning is there. What is the use of just labeling him without any qualification? So we should know what God is by qualification, what devotee is by qualification, what a rascal is also by qualification. Because rascals are also qualified. They are against God and they cheat others. So we should know who is God, who is devotee, who is a non-devotee, who is a rascal, cheater, imposter, who is that? We should know. If we just only know dharma and not know what is adharma, then we will not be able to distinguish. We should know both. And we will know both if we read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So how? Shrutau vistarasho maya. By hearing. So please take this opportunity, now that you're coming like this for Bhagavad Gita classes every weekend. Come regularly, and not enough. Once a week is not enough. Maya is too strong. Like 1 hour sitting here, not enough to counteract the 167 hours, rest of hours in the week. It's not enough. Every day. So you take the books and go back and read. Because how much can we say in 1 hour like this? There's a lot more to say. It can go on for days. So the books are there. Please take those books and study them. It is not an optional book. Oh, if I like, I will take one day. No. One day when? I can die tomorrow, first of all. Next thing is, it's not like an optional thing. We want to take so many births and suffer, or what? Are we serious about our solving the problems of our life or not? If we're serious, then we should explore this. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe this is right or wrong. I'm not sure. Okay, then take one book and study first. That's how you'll know. Like, how would you know the taste of a mango? I can explain. I can write a fat book like this on the taste of a mango. You'll never be able to understand it. You just taste one mango, you will understand. So similarly, take those books. We have Bhagavad Gita, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, all the books we have. Take them and start reading, and everything will be very clear. Then we know exactly what to do in life. We know what is correct, what is wrong. We'll be very decisive in everything. Decision means what, You know how the word decision came about? Scission. Scissors. Incision, scission means cut. So you need to be able to cut what is right, what is wrong. Very sharp. Unless your scissors is sharp, you cannot cut properly. So that knowledge should be like that, sharp. Then you can make the decision on what to do, what not to do. Who is God, who is not God. Who is a saint, who is not saint. People can come in this garb. Nowadays it's all too common. So we should know how to distinguish. By what he is speaking, we know whether he is actually a saint or not. Not by how he looks. Because they can be very charming. In fact, demons are very charming, but they know how to cheat people. So I'll stop it here. Any questions or comments on this topic? If not, we will stop here. जय श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।